Hello, welcome back to Math with Patrick. Today is January 4th, so we are solving the fourth problem from the Daily Epsilon calendar from the American Mathematical Society. So let's get into it. We can already see that the answer is 4. That's the whole point of this calendar. We already know the answer, but we're trying to figure out why it is. And there aren't any obvious instructions, but in this calendar, anytime there's an x, we can just assume to solve for it. So x and y are natural numbers, such that this equation down here is true. Now, the definition for natural numbers is actually a little contested or disagreed on. They are essentially the counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, though some people say 0 should be in it and some don't. At least for today, I'll just assume that it's not. So I'll say that the natural numbers start at 1 and they go up by whole number increments from there, so on and so forth. So now we need to figure out what numbers can go here such that this equation is true. And specifically, they both have to be whole numbers and both positive, because that's what it means to be a natural number. So what I'll do is I'll just pick a value for x and see what y has to be. And I'm just going to keep going until y is also a natural number. So I'll try 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. And I know that the answer is 4, but I'll pretend that I don't know for a sec, and I would just kind of keep trying until I can't go any further. One thing that I know is that 8 times 6 is 48, and 8 times 7 is 56. That's already bigger than 53. So if I choose x equals 7, that's already way too big because I would then need to subtract some amount to get 53. So x is 7 is already too big. I can't pick that one. And I know that I can stop at x equals 6. Before I start plugging in the x's and finding the y's, one thing that I think would be helpful to do is to solve for y first. Just that way I could do the arithmetic a little bit more quickly. So taking a look at this equation, I can subtract 8x from both sides. So I get 7y is equal to 53 minus 8x. And then I can divide both sides by 7. So I'll get y on the left. And I guess I could just write it as a fraction. So I'll divide both sides by 7. I don't need this equal sign. That was a mistake. And I'll just write 53 minus 8x divided by 7 like that. So if I pretend that x is 1, then I'll get 53 minus 8 times 1, that's just 8, and divide that by 7. 53 minus 8 on top gives me a 45, and then there's a 7 on the bottom. And I think it would be pretty helpful to write out some multiples of 7 real quick. And so I'm going to go up until I reach around 45. And what I notice here is that when I jump from 42 to 49, I skipped over 45. And that tells me that if I try doing this division here, 45 divided by 7, I'm not going to get a whole number. I'm going to get something between 6 and 7. So I don't really know exactly where that lands, but I know that it's not a whole number, so it's not a natural number. From this point, I'll just try x equals 2. That makes this 8 a 16. So that means I'll subtract another 8 from this 45. I will get, 37. Yeah, okay. And then 37 is running into the same issue, where it's between two different multiples of 7. So it's not going to give me a whole number, and I got to keep looking for a different value for x. So let's try x equals 3. That would put a 24 right here. And then 53 minus 24, that gives me a 29. Yeah, okay. And yeah, 29 is running into the same issue where I'm between two whole numbers once again. Oh well, so I'll put 29 over 7 right here. The next number to check is x equals 4. That's the answer all along. We already knew that part. 8 times 4 is 32. 53 minus 32 gives me 21. And that lines up with this whole number right here. And that means that I could do this division and I get a whole number or a natural number right here, 3. not 3 double factorial, just 3. Can't get too excited or else you start writing math notation. So that tells me that when I plug in x equals 4, I get y equals 3, and we have found our natural numbers. Today's epilogue will just be a little shorter than normal. I wanted to make sure that there weren't any other solutions as well. So if we plug in x equals 5, that gives me a 40 right here. And so I'll do 53 minus 40 on top is 13. That doesn't line up with either of my multiples of 7 over here. So I know that the division does not give me a natural number as the answer. And then lastly, when I plug in x equals 6, here is a 48. 53 minus 48 is 5. And then this number is less than 1. So it's less than my smallest natural number. That's also not going to work. I'll record the values in the table, but I'll know that the only natural number that showed up for both x and y is this 4 and this 3. So now we're all done. We know that the only natural number solutions are 4 and 3. We found out that x is 4 and we solved the problem, and we're all done for realsies. So thanks for tuning in for another episode, and I'll see you tomorrow.